Good morning, agents, and welcome to another daily episode of Targeted Loot today for Friday, December 4th. In this series, we cover a lot from the Targeted Loot map, DZ exclusives to farm for, highlights for the weekly vendor resets, build and farming suggestions, and much more. I'm Agent Shadow, and if you enjoy this video, consider pressing the subscribe and like buttons below, and remember to comment below if you have any questions whatsoever. Otherwise, let's get this video started. Alright guys, so starting off in the dark zones, and of course the vendor reset highlights, which are always in the bottom left overlay. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the dark zones first. So of course you got ongoing directive as targeted loot in DZ West. I highly don't recommend farming for this in the dark zones. It's better just to wait for it to be targeted loot in DC or NYC. Next up, we got Badger Tough at DZ South. Another thing I just don't recommend farming for because there is no dark zone exclusive, and otherwise if there's no DZ exclusive, I don't recommend ever farming in the dark zone. Of course, next up we got DZE, so Murakami Industries is targeted loot worth farming for. You can go ahead and farm for the Emperor's Guard knee pads. That gives you an extra 1% armor regen. So that's really good to mix with like 2 pieces of Bellstone Armory or, for, the Foundry Bulwark gear set just for extra armor regen, kind of tank builds. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for the dark zones. Let's go check out what we got on the north side now. Alright guys, so now we're over here in the north side targeted loot highlight section, and starting off with this first, I'll do the invaded missions, so Bank HQ, Camp White Oak, DCD, and then of course Roosevelt Island and Tidal Basin Stronghold. So for the north side, we got True Patriot at Camp White Oak. Now this is always worth farming for, especially my True Patriot build, 4 pieces of True Patriot with a Sokolov chest piece with Intimidate and the Memento backpack. Now that's just a build you can shred through content with solo and in group, and if you want to throw on a Chameleon or Assault Rifle with it, you can swap that Sokolov chest out for a Fenris piece with Intimidate still on it. Next up, we got shotguns at Coney Island Ballpark, so you can of course farm for the Sweet Dreams exotic shotgun with the Sandman talent. You can melee one-hit kill any red or purple bar named enemies. And then of course there's 3 shotguns in this game I always recommend farming for. That's the Mop with 10% armor on kill, the Custom M870, and the Marine Super 90, and usually you want to roll close and personal on it. Next up, we got knee pads at Coney Island Amusement Park. There's 2 exotic knee pads you can farm for, of course. That's, of course, the Sawyer's knee pads and the Ninja Bike Messenger ones. The Ninja Bike is for DPS builds, and the Sawyer's I recommend on a tank build because you're sitting still mostly in it, so a tank build or a skill build. Otherwise, you can farm Overlord targeted loot for this or knee pads, but I recommend Overlord for the Fox's Prayer knee pads. That's 8% damage to targets out of cover, and it's highly worth farming for. And really, that's about it. Golan gear is great for, an extra piece on your Eclipse Protocol build. And then, Kinley College is closed, and the Summit, you got to pick your own targeted loot. So now let's go check out what we got on the west side. Alright guys, so starting off on the west side with gear sets, starting off first, we got Strikers at West End. Like I always say, just mix this 3 pieces with rate of fire and weapon handling increases as the bonuses for this. I would really only use this with like a Merciless or maybe like the Sleipnir with Perfect Frenzy. Otherwise, I really don't recommend running Strikers at all. And then second, we got Eclipse Protocol at Atomic Event Center. So what I always run for my fire damage build is 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol, the Imperial Dynasty holster, and 1 piece of Golan gear for an extra 10% status effects on it. And then yeah, that's about it. We got Tip of the Spirit Lincoln Memorial. I never recommend this. It increases your specialization weapon damage, and it's pretty good if you have the crossbow or the sharpshooter TAC 50, and is really only good in certain sections of a raid or a legendary match. Otherwise, I really just don't recommend it. For the normal targeted loot, we got Aralda Holdings at Federal Emergency Bunker. So I always say this, roll this with weapon damage, weapon handling, and headshot damage, just like you would with the Walker Harrison Code Chainkiller chest piece with Perfect Headhunter, which you could farm for today at Tidal Basin Stronghold. That's kind of how you want to run all your headshot damage builds, because crit hit chance and crit hit damage just don't really matter. Next up, we got Providence Defense at Downtown West. You can farm for the Sacrifice with Perfect Glass Cannon, amplifying all damage you do by 30%, but all incoming damage you get by 60%. A huge risk-reward factor, and I prefer Intimidate or Obliterate over it. Next up, we got Petrov Defense over here at Bank HQ. You can farm for the Contractor's Gloves with 8% damage to armor, which is great when you stack it with the damage to armor from Walker Harrison Co., or just put it on LMG build. Of course, we got Overlord at Foggy Bottom, so like I was saying in the north side, always farm this for the Fox's Prayer. Remember, farm the brand, not the type. It yields better results. We got chess pieces over here at Roosevelt Island. You got 2 exotics, the Tardigrade and the Ridgeway's Pride, but you need to complete floor 100 first on Summit to even get the Ridgeway's project started. Otherwise, you can get someone like me who has already completed the project, that has it, that can drop it if they get a second drop. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You got backpacks at West Atomic Park if you want to refarm the Memento backpack or something. And then, of course, gear system mods at the DARPA Research Labs if you want to run this on Heroic to try to get a God Rolled mod. But otherwise, I don't really recommend anything else today. Alright guys, now we're over here on the east side target loot highlights. Starting off with the gear sets, we got Foundry Bulwark at Grand Washington Hotel. This is mainly just a tank build in my opinion. I really don't think the DPS hybrid is really that great compared to Hunter's Fury or True Patriot, but I guess it is possible if you want to run 4 pieces of this with the Memento Backpack and Sokolov Fenris chest piece with Intimidate. Next up, we got Aces and Eights of Judiciary Square. This is a headshot gear set, so you want to mix 3 pieces with 2 pieces of Heraldo Holding, one being a backpack with Vigilance or Composure, and the Chain Killer chest piece with Perfect Headhunter on it. And then next up, speaking of headshot damage builds, you want to get a good MMR, and what I always recommend is the Mantis. It's an exotic MMR. You can also get the Nemesis, but it is a quest-only exotic. That's an MMR, so you're going to need to do the quest first, which is getting Puck's blueprint from the Grand Washington Hotel over here, but, you need to get all the, blueprint pieces first to get it anyway. Otherwise, there's 2 named MMRs that are worth farming for, the White Death and Ekim's Longstick with Perfect Ranger. Also, we got LMGs over here at Downtown East, so you could farm for the Bullet King and the Pestilence, the 2 exotic LMGs. And I really think that the Pestilence is worth farming for, the Bullet King not so much in my opinion. Otherwise, there's a few good named LMGs you can get. Of course, the Pestilence is really great, but if you get a named one, I would recommend like the New Reliable Perfectly Optimized, and of course the Perfect Sadist Talent on the Carnage LMG. You got Grupo Sombro at District Union Arena. Remember, run 1 piece for DPS builds and 2 pieces for skill explosive damage builds. And then, of course, really one of the highlights for today is Mass at Jefferson Trade Center. So the Coyote's Mass original source is hyenas, and really the Coyote boss at the end is a hyena, and that's where the main source used to be. So that should roughly increase your chances by 3%, and usually when you run this on Heroic, you have a 7% drop rate chance every time you run for an exotic on Heroic, and 5% on Challenging. So this would be a great day to run for the Coyote's Mask and also the Vile Mask exotic, but it doesn't have a 3% increased rate like the Coyote's Mask does. Otherwise, there is Douglas and Harding at New York City if you want to farm for that Punch Drunk Mask with that extra 20% headshot damage baked in, but I'd recommend farming Douglas and Harding instead of Jefferson Trade Center for the Punch Drunk Mask. Next up, we got Rifles at American History Museum. There's 2 exotics you can farm for, the Merciless and the Diamondback. While I don't really recommend either of them, the Diamondback has a low clip size and the Merciless is all over the place and you kind of have to run braced, weapon handling everywhere, or of course 3-piece striker. There is 2 named rifles that I recommend, the Surge with Perfect Spike and the Baker's Dozen with Perfect Lucky Shot. Both of those are kind of worth farming for, but if you have the Harmony with Perfectly in Sync, I would just keep it that way. Otherwise, the best rifle damage talents, of course, are Boomerang, Rifleman, and Ranger. I always recommend running those over Baker's Dozen, but of course, that's my personal preference. If you like Baker's Dozen better, go for it. Last thing we got that I missed was Hunter's Fury at Air and Space Museum. So my favorite build is 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury with Death Grip gloves and the Memento Backpack for all that extra armor on kill. I highly recommend it, and it's really great SMG and shotgun damage build. Last couple we got is Hanayu at Southwest, so the Force Multipliers Backpack with Perfect Combined Arms is always worth farming for an additional 30% skill damage. And then we got Gloves Targeted Loot at Jefferson Plaza. You could farm for the BTSU gloves, which are probably going to be worth it in TU12 with all the skill damage metas coming as well. Alright, let's go check out what we got in New York City now. Alright guys, lastly at New York City Targeted Loot highlights, we got Negotiator's Dilemma at the Tomb. So I got a double LMG build I'll put in the top right card that utilizes 4 pieces of this. And it's pretty good actually, 1 piece of Grupo Sombro gloves, and of course you get the Coyote's Mask on top of that. And it kind of shreds through content solo, it's pretty good in groups, and it's a great crowd control DPS set as well. Like I said, Douglas and Harding at Civic Center for that Punch Drunk Mask, and holsters at Pathway Park, you got 2 exotics you can farm for. And that's going to be the Imperial Dynasty holster for your skill damage and status effect builds, and then of course the Dodge City holster for your headshot damage builds or just pistol damage builds, DPS kind. And then you could horse farm for the Forge holster, an extra 50% shield health to your shield, which is a whole extra skill tier and might be worth it to farm for anyone that uses a shield build. Otherwise, that's kind of just all it's for, and you could pick it up at the campus as well this week, which I think it's rolled well enough to actually just run with on heroic content with the one at the campus. Last thing I could recommend is Assault Rifles at Wall Street. You can get, of course, the Chameleon with Adaptive Instincts, and I run that on a True Patriot build that I mentioned earlier in the north side. And instead of the Sokolov chest piece with Intimidate, I just matched it out with a Fenris chest piece with Intimidate, which you can farm for today at Financial District. The named assault rifles that are worth picking up would be the Mechanical Animal of Future Perfection, and then of course the Burnout named FAMAS, and the Maniac named Military AKM. Otherwise, I don't really recommend a whole lot. I mean, lastly, I did want to mention the best assault rifles you can get would be, the Police M4, the Carbine 7, the FAMAS, and the Military AKM. If you're going to run an assault rifle, those 4 would probably be the best. But yeah, really, that's about it that I would recommend here today. I don't really ever recommend getting that Everyday Carrier with Perfectly Efficient, which is a Bellstone Armory named chest piece. But if you want to get it, you could farm Stranded Taker today. And remember that the Liquid Engineer backpack with Perfect Bloodsucker is a DZ exclusive. Alright agents, well that was the targeted loot for today. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed my content. If you would like to become a member for support and exclusive perks, then you can click the join button below, and I appreciate everyone that does. Thank you to all my channel members. You can also grab some Shadow Gaming merchandise. All the links and stuff are in the pinned comment below, as well as joining my Discord and my clan on all platforms. You can also support me on Alt Tech. I get all my videos uploaded to BitChute. I'm working on Storyfire, Patreon, and all that stuff. But really, if you're still watching this video to the end, like I always say, thank you very much. I work so hard on my content every morning, and I appreciate all the feedback and all the support. Take care, agents, and be sure to stay tuned for more daily Division 2 content. This is Shadow Gaming signing off. I will see you in the next video. Take care.